wrapping up a really good week here overall. Kind of with everything. To be fair, training wise, business wise, a lot of different stuff going on. Shaw Classic, a lot of different stuff going on. It's amazing how much planning, goes into that. I feel like a lot of people don't really realize the amount of meetings and just different things that not only I have to do, but that Carrie has to do, that Crystal has to do, and our team and just everybody and being involved. I mean, we all do a lot for sure. So trying to make that event very very special. I think it will be very very special for sure, and just excited overall. So I'm sure we'll jump into it. We do have the transformation challenge here on the club coming to an end on Sunday. So hopefully everybody that's been participating in that finishes strong, and then we will have your after questionnaire posted up, and you'll follow all the directions there to get that submitted, and then we'll be able to pick a winner of that, which is really really exciting as well. So hopefully everybody that has participated with that has got something out of it, and I cannot wait to hear, or will hear, but read the, post, questionnaires and that type of thing, because that definitely is always super, super motivating for me, and I feel like it is such a good thing overall. So anyway, let's jump into, it looks like a lot of questions are coming in, which is great, and definitely appreciate you guys taking the time out to jump on here and be part of this. This is definitely fun every single week, and I'm sure we'll have some good questions. Obviously, the contest last weekend happened as well, so very interesting coming out. I think World's Strongest Man put out a little bit more information about the events to the public, which is great, and gives us as competitors even more knowledge, which is always a good thing. So let's jump into it. Let's see if I get up to the top here on the questions. Happy Friday, Brian. Hope everything is going great. I appreciate that. It is going great, and happy Friday to you as well. Good morning, Brian. How's training? I'm assuming you're approaching or already in your very heavy training prep sessions. Yeah, everything is climbing, right? And with prepping for a big contest like this, it is very very important to remember that the training is the training, and you need to be your best at the competition. So you don't want to, quote unquote, peak too early or go too crazy too early. You're building up, but you are correct in saying that, we're kind of getting into the heavier training now, and that will continue for basically the next 5 weeks, give or take, as we're building up here, and yeah, it's getting close. It's getting close. So we've got a lot of stuff still to get done, and a lot of hard work still to put in, but overall very very happy with how everything's going. Super excited for this first live Q&A I've been able to make. That's great. Well, I'm glad you're in, and hopefully you enjoy it for sure. Good morning, Mr. Shaw, and I hope you're having a great Friday. I am. Appreciate that. Just got my new Shaw Strength shirt with all your World's Strongest Man achievements, and it's awesome. Yeah, that's great. We're excited about that. I feel like it was something that was kind of brought up as an idea, kind of going into my final World's Strongest Man, and I'm glad that you like it. I'm glad that people are liking it. For people that haven't seen it, and I don't have one obviously with me at this moment, but it just says one more time on it, and then on the back it's got my name, and then I think it says how many times I've competed at World's Strongest Man, how many finals, podiums, stuff like that. So pretty cool. Yeah, and I think we're going to do that as kind of like a limited thing, going into World's Strongest Man. So we're definitely excited about it. I'm glad to hear that. Hey Brian, any advice on getting ready for a max yoke event? And also thank you for all the advice you give me. You are more than welcome. So max yoke, I'm assuming with that, it is probably a set distance that you have to carry it. And then what they'll do is they'll increase the weight. So with something like this, I will talk more about kind of how I prepped for the really heavy yoke that we had at the Arnold for a number of years. And I think the start position, depending on the weight that you get to, has to be modified slightly compared to a quote unquote normal yoke race where you're focusing a lot more on speed when you're carrying an extremely heavy weight and essentially trying to get that out. I felt like for me what I worked on a lot was the actual start. So number one, picking it up, making sure that my first step, the yoke didn't tip too much. So that first step needed to not be as big, but solid. And then from there, once you started moving, the balance would be better. But I found with the heavier weights, if I took that first step and it got off balance too much, that would really make it difficult. So that's one thing that I would say that you could focus on certainly. And then as you're building up, max yoke is something that can definitely take a lot out of you just due to the nature of how much weight is there. So it's not something that you necessarily want to go super heavy with all of the time. So week in, week out, super heavy. What I would do more for me is I would actually go beltless quite a bit on the weeks where I wasn't going heavy. So I'd kind of go one heavy week with it and then one quote unquote lighter week, but that would be beltless. And so a lot of times I would be over and granted the Arnold this is an extreme thing, but my lighter weeks were still over 1,000 pounds beltless with that yoke setup. So that's one thing, but with doing the beltless, be smart with it for sure, and don't go outside of what you can do. But going beltless with that will make you brace a heck of a lot harder and definitely increase your overall strength as well. So be smart with it as you're prepping, but kind of going with that. That always seems to be a pretty good thing. Now with strongman, you have to balance all of your other training as well. But you don't, if you go more of 1 week heavy and then 1 week a little bit lighter, that can definitely, I feel like, have a really good carryover, and hopefully that helps you with that event. The grip feats you did with Joel are insane. Is that now your best grip gauntlet run to date? I think it is. Obviously I've completed it before with doing the 150 at the end, but we threw in the inch dumbbells, and then we also threw in an extra blob 50, so half of 100, and that obviously makes it a little bit more difficult, with those things kind of added into the mix. But I still think overall my time probably, and I guess we'd have to go back and review the video and get the time on it, but technically because that extra blob was in there and the inch dumbbells were in it, it would be, the time would be different. But I think that I think it's fair to say it's the best that I've done with that overall. Definitely the best lift I feel like on the 150 for sure. Let's see. Good morning. Good morning to you as well. How are you able to add weight to your finger? So what I'm doing to add weight to that is actually putting pipes inside of it. So they're smaller diameter, and I just slide in an extra pipe, and then that essentially adds weight to the entire finger. So that's what I'm doing, and the weight scales up pretty quickly with that. But it's something that I'm really happy about how it's worked out. It was something I wanted to try because in the past with my finger, I tried a little bit to add some weight to the top. It didn't work out well in 2021, I believe, is when we had that as a qualifier event. But also because it was a qualifier event, I wasn't that worried about it. I knew what I was going to be able to do. But now that I'm able to add weight to it, I think it's going to increase my performance because I'm going to be a heck of a lot more used to the much heavier fingers, and I feel like in my training, my preparation, I'll be ready for that event. Let's just say that. Please tell Mrs. Shaw good morning for me, please. I will do that. Hey Brian, I was wondering about your footwear choices and what you recommend for carry events versus things like truck pull. So carry events, what you want to find is, in my opinion, you want to find a shoe that, number one, fits your foot well as possible, is supportive, has a little bit of cushioning, but not not a lot of cushioning. So what I have found to be the best for me, and you guys have probably seen me wear a lot of the same type of shoes, is like an indoor football type of shoe. So typically they have a little bit of cushioning, and then as you know, for me being heavier, number one, but also carrying the weights that I do, I find that the shoes will break down a little bit, and the cushioning won't be kind of as squishy, I guess. I'm gonna, whatever, throw in all these technical terms, but it kind of breaks down a little bit over time. So I like to have the shoes kind of broken in where that's down a little bit, especially if you're doing super heavy things and heavy carries. So that's what I would recommend for that. You can also potentially find different type of cross trainers, things like that. But again, if they can be supportive and they fit your foot well, have just a little bit of cushioning, and you can feel like you can move well in them, that's typically going to carry over the best. And then things like truck pull, you want a high friction rubber shoe. So typically a rock climbing shoe is going to be the best way to go, because that's the high friction rubber. So that's what you will see most of the competitors wear. Mine are not really rock climbing shoes because my feet are too big. So mine are more of a custom made truck pull shoe. But again, it's the high friction rubber that's the most important part. Let's see. Do you still do the 4x25 readiness? No, I do not. That is something that got dropped out this year. I didn't feel like it had a great carryover for me leading into World's Strongest Man last year. So that's something that got dropped out. I mean, I still do, if you want to call it readiness. So I still do movement prep. I still do, a lot of things to get ready for my training. But I felt like with that in particular, I was getting more burned out going into my training session than I needed to be. So maybe early on, if you want to get in better shape, it's a great way to get in better shape for sure. But that extra volume, maybe you could throw it in earlier in the training cycle, then potentially kind of back it off or pull it out as you get into some of the bigger event training and bigger weights and that type of thing. So it's something that this year I just I didn't want to have it in. I was questioning it, and I didn't like the carryover that I got from it overall. So hopefully that answers your question there. Also, shoes for yoke. So the same thing, the same type of shoe for the carry events. I kind of looped in yoke. So yoke, farmers, any type of loading, that type of thing. Typically, it's going to be the same type of shoe that you're going to wear, which is more of like I said, an indoor football shoe is good, or some type of cross trainer as well. Since the dumbbell is at World's Strongest Man is for max, do you still train with both hands or just your dominant hand? So I definitely will still train with both hands. The reason for that is if I'm good across my body, right and left, if I get my left stronger, my right will be stronger as well. And that's historically always been true. It's something that I am surprised a lot at how many competitors do not do any kind of offhand work, if you will, non-dominant side work, because creating an imbalance where you're only training an event on one side of your body, that just doesn't make sense to me. So even though at a certain point, and for me, I guess I'm fortunate, or whatever you want to call it. I put so much work into circus dumbbell early on that my left always has been very similar to my right, and leading up to kind of where I tore my bicep in 2012, and then had some of the nerve issues that I did after that, from sleeping wrong, which is a whole different story. You guys have probably heard me talk about that before. But since I had that issue, or before that issue, my left was actually completely on par with my right, and honestly, at some points was better than my right, with different things. So I was able to do reps back and forth, and you guys saw this at the Arnold with 274 pounds when they had that dumbbell for reps. I was the only competitor ever to do reps with my right and left hand at that type of weight. So it's something where I will definitely do that, and then I'll have to make my game plan going into the contest, depending on the weights that they throw out, whether I do any reps at all with my left hand, or I do everything with my right hand during the actual contest. So some of that will be dependent on how quick they'll go between the reps, stuff like that. So that's a whole different game plan thing. But to answer your question, yes, 100% I will still train my left hand as well. With the World's Strongest Man event being posted, which ones are you looking? I'm guessing you meant forward to. To be completely honest, I love the events going into the contest. I'm very happy with both the qualifier and the final events. I'm happy with how they have structured them, and kind of laid them out. So having, for example, in the qualifier, the throwing event with the kettlebell tosses, the fifth event, is great, very, very good, because a lot of times that is considered to be the tiebreaker event in who goes into the stone off and who doesn't. And so having an event like that for me, which is a very, very strong event, in that position is huge. So I don't plan on being close to the stone off this year at all. But if it comes down to that and I need to put in a big performance on the kettlebell toss, I know that I can. So, things like that, a lot of positive. I mean, I think, with the way that they've now announced yesterday that it's the Knack deadlift, so it'll be the same setup, I'm assuming, as 2021 in the final. That means that I can prep for that and get ready for that specifically, which is a huge help. So I'm really happy. I'm happy with fingers. I'm happy with truck pull. Hopefully they make the truck pull a heck of a lot heavier and harder than last year, because that was just too light and too easy. But hopefully they will. Historically speaking, I think they'll figure that out, and hopefully get a lot better setup for that. But other events, max dumbbell, happy about that. Fingal fingers, it's really good. I mean, all of that, and most people aren't going to realize, historically speaking, shield carry is actually been a very good event for me, as well. Most people are going to sleep on that, which is fine. I don't really care to have people thinking I'm going to be good at that, or any of the other stuff. I'm not being very vocal about my training, and not really posting a heck of a lot, but a lot of work is being done behind the scenes. And at the end of the day, all that really matters is how you perform at the contest. So that is the plan, is to put on a show there. It was awesome to see you crush that grip series on the latest video. I appreciate that. It was fun. That was a lot of fun. How do you load the circus dumbbells you have? So all the ones that I have that you guys have probably seen me train with, there's a little cap on the end of it that you can unscrew, and then I will load them depending on what weight I want to go to, sand or lead, or a combination of sand and lead shot, because obviously lead is very, very dense. So if you want to get up to big weights, you have to put lead into them. The events for World's Strongest almost seem like it's the Brian Shaw show. They're good events. They're very good events. for me. And I think that, that anybody that's followed me in my career will probably look at that and say, I think Terry Hollins made a comment and said if Brian shows up at even 90% condition of what he's been, it's gonna be crazy. So that's a pretty fair assessment is what I would say. So it sounds like you are echoing that as well. Just wanted to say thank you for the challenge and the effort you and Carrie put into it. All the best for your prep. Hope it goes really, really well. I appreciate that. It is definitely going. It's definitely going right now really, really well. So we just need to keep that going. I'm a big positive momentum person. So especially when I'm leading up to a contest and that type of thing, I really look at it as each training session I build and build and build and build, and then it just gets to a point where that's where the ultimate performance comes from, is from the training. But the supreme confidence as well is also built by putting in the hard work and training as well. It'd be interesting to see a conversation between you and Zydrunas about sharing your beliefs and going out on top versus just loving to compete despite no longer being on top. Yeah, I think that potentially would be an interesting conversation. I've never had that conversation with him, to be fair, but that was as I've made clear, it's what he thinks or the way that he's kind of done everything on his side is certainly his choice. 100%, and my choice is obviously I feel like going to be quite a bit different than what he has chose to do, and that's totally fine. I mean, it's I suppose at some point that would be a if I have him on a podcast or something like that, that would be an interesting certainly an interesting question to pose and see what his thoughts are. For sure. After a training day, what is your recovery like after the workout that day, so you are not waking up stiff, sore, and just feeling beat up? So after a training day, and a lot of times for me, I train a little bit later in the day right now, and that's just kind of the nature of the schedule, what works best for me and for the boys and Carrie. And that's totally cool. So I will try to do everything I can, certainly. But as far as like the hot, cold, like stuff like that, I'm actually doing that on the like my off day or the next day. So typically I try to give myself about 4 hours at a minimum where I would do a hot and cold, like contrast after training. So for example, on Saturday, if we hit some events and we're hitting those kind of middle of the day around there, Saturday evening, I may then go ahead and do the hot and cold as kind of getting a jump on the recovery and that type of thing. But if I don't have that much time after the workout, I won't do that. So other than, my typical thing is obviously trying to eat enough so that I'm recovering. And then also, taking recovery from undefined nutrition is massive. And I've been kind of experimenting with me, I'm going to call it like super dosing it, right? So taking like more like a triple serving of it versus just one serving. Obviously, I'm bigger, so potentially need a little bit more. But also, I have been feeling so much better by taking more of that, especially after the really, really hard and heavy training. So that's definitely something that I do. Food is going to be number one. Sleep is definitely, you could probably call that number one above everything else as well. So, on the off days that I'm doing the soft tissue work, I'm going to see an incredible woman that's been working on me weekly. And I just, she is just next level as far as that goes. So she's been really, really helping me. I'm moving a lot better. I'm feeling a lot better overall with my performance, and that's huge as well. So a lot of different stuff that you can do, but it depends on when you're waking up, or I'm sorry, when you're finishing your workout before you go to sleep, and then inevitably, waking up a little stiff and sore is going to be par for the course. And the way that I always think about that is, if I put that work in and I wake up a little stiff and sore, then that's me doing my job. I did what I needed to do and I got stronger. So, it's kind of a good feeling. If I didn't wake up a little bit stiff and sore, I probably didn't work hard enough as well. Why don't we see the tire flip event anymore? It's such a classic strongman event. That's a great question. That's a great question. I love tire flips. I think they're a great event. I think they're a great test of overall strength, explosive, power, stuff like that. So, I think that potentially it's one of those things where they're a little bit worried about the injury risk of it. And some guys, if you don't use a correct technique or you get in a hurry with a tire, it can pose a threat to tearing a bicep for sure. And different people have done that. But I always thought it was a great event. I was really loved it, and probably didn't hurt that I was very, very good at it as well. So that probably helped with my opinion on the event. But it's one of those things that I think it's really cool. It's a cool event. So I don't know, other than the injury risk, that's probably one part of it. Sourcing big tires, especially making sure they're all brand new and that type of thing can be certainly tough, because those tires brand new are not cheap at all. So that may be another part of it. Let's see. Hey, Brian, have you noticed one of your legs fatiguing faster due to moving in a circle? I'm guessing that you're talking about the Conan's wheel. No, not really. You don't, because it's controlled by the arm of that. When you're going in a circle, you don't really feel like you're having to control it or do that. So I've never really noticed that much at all. Hey, Brian, hope you're having a good day. Hope you are as well. I have a real difficult time balancing college football and lifting later in the day. I was wondering what you did in your time playing basketball. Thank you. Well, that's a good question. Very good question. I would, depending on the time of year, right? So with us, what we would have to do is, a lot of times we would have our individual, kind of individual position practice. So I would, obviously go with the post players. Sometimes we would have an individual practice, and then you would have whatever strength and conditioning might be going on, and then potentially team practice as well. So I would try to get in what I could during the strength and conditioning, portion of that. And then outside of that, I would a lot of times go in and do my own workout, my own strength training, because basketball players, I feel like, are a lot different than football players. And maybe hopefully that's kind of changed now, more mentality wise, but a lot of them really didn't like to lift, or they thought if they lifted too much, their shot would be thrown off, and that type of thing. So I would go in always because I felt better and I performed better when I was lifting. So I would go in and make time on my own. If the lifting is unorganized, meaning, it's not a team lift or something that you have to do, then, that's really, it comes down to you, and then trying to, figure out what's going to maximize your performance. And if you have a strength coach, maybe sit down and have a conversation with him as well, to see what his thoughts are, or her thoughts, I guess, depending on, who the coach is. But see if they can give you some insight into what might be beneficial for you to make you better. Because at the end of the day, you want to get better. If you're playing college football, you want to do things that will make you better for football, right? So you want to be a better athlete for football. And, getting that carryover is ultimately what you want right now, because lifting, as far as like strongman, that type of thing, lifting later on, there's plenty of time to get stronger, and all of that, when you're done with college. But right now I would focus on that, and hopefully that helps. I mean, there's, it's something that can be challenging. And then on top of that, you've got your classes, you've got your work that you've got to get done there. So there's a lot that goes into it. Being a college athlete it's not as easy as people think. And you have to be very diligent with your time and make sure you stay on top of all of that stuff. Will the One More Time shirt be updated after this Worlds? Oh, that's a good question, because some of those numbers will change. Obviously, well, hopefully all of the numbers on there will change. So I guess that's a question. I think, assuming Worlds goes the way that I'm planning on, and that starting to become much more of a reality through the training, then yes, that you can probably plan on there being new, at least one new shirt, maybe more from there afterwards, is what I would say. But we got to go handle the business at the contest first, and then we'll worry about that after. Grew up watching you and Big Z. I'm sad you're retiring, but happy you go out on top and on your own terms. At the same time, I'm happy Big Z still occasionally competes, but sad he's past his prime. Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think a lot of potentially a lot of people that were have been into the sport, whatever, have kind of seen that era, right? Whereas Jonas and I, and that was how it went down for a long time. So it's I think whenever a chapter like this is closing, it's natural to kind of have that response. I mean, I'm also, I think and I've said this before, but I'm so kind of entrenched in training and preparation and what I'm going to get done with this World's Strongest Man, that I'm not really thinking about it from a sentimental standpoint, I guess, or any of that, because I'm not going to World's Strongest Man to have a retirement party. Let's just put it that way, I guess. I'm going there to get a job done, and I'm showing up, and I will be ready to execute and to get that job done. So, it's something that after the fact, there'll be plenty of time to think about that, and plenty, of time to, kind of reflect and that type of thing. But yeah, I always wanted to go out on my own terms. I always wanted to go out where, my thing is, and when I'm done with this year, I'm sure there's going to be people after, what I do there, that are going to say, man, Brian, why are you hanging it up? Or why are you, why don't you come back? And that type of thing. And that's exactly, in a lot of ways, that's exactly what I want, right? I don't want to, the worst thing that could happen would be for me to go compete, and then you have people saying, well, gosh, it was about time you retired, or man, good choice retiring because you didn't do very well, that type of thing. That would be the worst thing that happens. And, going in, I think, a lot of people are, the way that they're talking and, just different stuff. And I'm not following a lot of anything really, but, you hear, like I said, guys like Terry Hollins, that type of thing, saying the things that they're saying, that understand the sport, understand the contest. That's a good thing to hear. And it's also, I'm going in there, and I promise you that nobody in the contest wants me in their group, and everybody is going to be concerned about me in the final. And right, that's what you want. You don't want to go to a contest where it's like, yeah, I'm competing against Brian, and he used to be this, he used to be that, and at the same time, I don't have to worry about him, and it's fine if he gets in my group, whatever, because I know he's not going to really pose a threat. And that's not me, and that's not what's going to happen for me. So, yeah, I'm kind of going off on a tangent with that, but yeah, we'll focus on getting the job done, number one, and then after that we can think about, kind of the magnitude of of everything else after it's done. There have been pictures and videos of you wearing headphones and listening to music before a big comp. What do you usually listen to? Um, I would say there's different stuff that I will listen to. Depending on um, the situation and what I'm walking into. A lot of times it's very similar to the training music that I listen to in the gym, and I'll even at times put on the same playlist. So it's the same type of music that I'm listening to, and I've kind of put myself in that position of competing, and so that music is familiar to me at that point. So that's a lot of times what I'll have on in my headphones. But then there's other stuff that I'll listen to as well. Potentially post contests or leading up to it as well. That's a lot more calm type of music where I'm just trying to chill out and not be necessarily getting into this game mode in my head. Have you watched Michael Jordan's Last Dance? I have. I definitely have. I really enjoyed that for sure. What did you think of the stone throw event at the Arnold? It felt like a classic strongman event, but I feel like it fell flat. Um, yeah, the stone throw at the Arnold. I don't think I don't think that it was. I don't think that it ended up being a great event overall. I think that it was, in theory, it was interesting, but it wasn't like kind of like a shot put or something like that, where there was a drastic difference in the distances that were thrown there. So I think that what ended up happening is you have all 10 competitors doing three throws, and they're all within sometimes a matter of inches of the next competitor. So there wasn't a big disparity between some of the competitors. And yes, you can certainly argue that the best athlete or kind of most explosive, strongest won that event, but it just didn't necessarily have that kind of wow factor. I think that you would kind of like to have. And also what I would say is the Arnold is only five events, right? So if you're going to take up one of those events, it needs to be something that's very good. It's a very good test of strength and very kind of definitive of proving who the strongest is. So I don't think with the five event contest that really again, this is again just my opinion. I don't think five events is enough to start with, which is why we do 8 events at the Shaw Classic. But it's one of those things. If you're going to take up one of those events, it better be a good event. I don't think it was, and I think that they're probably looking at the feedback from that, and I feel like that's kind of been a consensus, at least from what I've seen, kind of across the board. What would you recommend for protein intake for weight loss while maintaining strength? Well, everybody's potentially going to be a little bit different, with this protein. As long as you are, training, and I'm assuming that you're training, you're doing, weightlifting, resistance training, that type of thing. You're going to want to keep your protein intake pretty high, is what I would recommend, just due to the nature of the training. So you can experiment with what works the best for you. And I don't know that you necessarily need to be up at like a gram per pound of body weight. You can maybe go a little bit less than that, especially if you're trying to restrict your calories a little bit to lose weight. But you can do that in incrementally lower amounts, and then just see how you feel. And if your training is still going well, then kind of monitor from week to week how you're doing. But that's probably the best way to do it, is slow, especially if you've been eating a lot of protein. You don't want to drastically cut that down, in my opinion, just because you want to still be, in a spot that you can recover from your training and feel good. So play with it in that way. But again, the same with calories, right? So for losing weight, you don't want to do this drastic change with cutting calories down in a crazy way. I mean, obviously you can track food intake and that type of thing, but it's always better to do it kind of gradually, where you can actually maintain it, and it's something that you can replicate, right? So it's like, you don't want to go from eating a ton to eating, I'm going to try to live on 1,500 or 2,000 calories, and then you can't do that, and you end up binging and having a lot of food to try to make up for that. Are you interested in coaching other pro strongmen after you're done competing? I don't know. I haven't really thought about that. I have not really thought about that. I mean, it's something that I know that I could do, if it were something that I wanted to do. I guess I haven't really, to be completely fair, I haven't thought about it. Have not thought about it. So I'm not going to say yes, not going to say no. I think that's probably the best way to answer that one. You think you're going to follow Eddie and try bodybuilding? I know you went into that a great deal with Jay Cutler. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I think it would be an interesting challenge, is what I think, as far as that goes. And it would be something, to kind of have a goal to go after, and something to work on there would be kind of fun. But I don't know. I mean, it would be fun to beat Eddie. I would say that because that would always be fun for me. And I feel like he kind of looks like a block, really. So I don't know that he's going to be able to get a bodybuilding type of build where he doesn't look like that. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what it's going to be. I saw they announced the Knack deadlifting finals this year. Is it the same as 2021 as far as you know? So I think that's a great event for you. As far as I know, unless they're doing something completely different for the deadlift, which I can't imagine, with the Knack boxes, they already have that set up, and unless they got rid of it and maybe have to build it again and do something different. But I feel like that's a great way to highlight their product and also do a deadlift. So I'm just assuming, I haven't been told one way or another that it will be exactly that, but that's what I'm assuming as well. Since the Shield Carry is sponsored by Rain, could the Shield Carry possibly be a keg of some sorts? I'm guessing with the Shield Carry that it's probably actually going to be a shield, and then they'll probably have the Rain logo on it in some way. So when you're grabbing the shield, that's right prominent on the front of it. So it's a great way to, obviously brand the event. And that's kind of what I'm assuming, is it's going to be more of a shield. Obviously they don't, all the Rain stuff, I believe, comes in cans. So maybe you could get a keg of it. I don't really know. But I'm guessing a shield with just that logo on it. Went to Order Recovery and wanted to set to subscribe, added in the club code for another 5% off, but it only took off 5 cents instead of 5%. Are codes only for one-time purchases, or was this an error? I'll have to kind of make a note of that. If you can send us an email, just go to the website or whatever and shoot an email in and kind of explain that. That'll help it to get to us as well. But we'll be able to answer that better there with the yeah, it shouldn't take 5 cents off. So I don't know that I'm assuming that's something going wrong on the website. But yeah, shoot us an email so we can get that handled for you, please. Let's see. Right here. Sorry, I lost my place there. Are you planning any seminars for later this year? As of right now, no. Nothing is planned as far as that go. I've right now I've been so kind of entrenched in World's Strongest Man training, and then working as well on the Shaw Classic, and that'll pretty much encompass my summer. Trying to get ready for that, from a not only promoting the contest but now training for it as well, leading in, because I want to be ready on both of those fronts. But maybe later in the year potentially, is what I would say, but it's going to have to be after August, if that does happen. I remember you dominating the shield carry in Giants Live Turkey 2010. Yep, I definitely did. I believe that was like a big concrete, kind of shield stone, if you will. They're pretty nasty, if I remember right. And that was, yeah, I did win, definitely did win that event there. Is the shield carry a good event for you? I think that's the one event I haven't seen you get to do much. Yeah, I'm just kind of piggybacking off of the question above. Yeah, shield carry is an event that, historically speaking, now granted we are talking, a number of years ago, that it was a very good event for me, very good event. So, I think that is one that I'm very much hoping that the other competitors feel like I haven't done it, or feel like I'm not going to be good at it, or whatever. I'm kind of excited about that, to be fair, because I think it'll be a very good event for me. But we'll see. We will see. It's all comes down to my training and preparation on my side as well. But it's never going to be a bad thing to be training at altitude, like I have for my basically my whole life here in Colorado, and then going down. And then being able to do an event like that, my breathing will be better, and endurance should be just fine, especially if I've done my work and paid the price in training. Have you given any thoughts about how you'll manage your competitive nature after strongman? I don't think it's going to be a problem for me. I don't know, and can't. There's no way for me to say for sure. I think that's silly to say. Yeah, I know for sure, but there's definitely, different things that I can quote unquote compete in. And I like being competitive in everything. So, business, life, obviously being an athlete in some way, shape, or form. I mean, I don't think that, just because I'm not going to compete in strongman any longer, that doesn't mean that I can potentially, not compete in anything, right? So, we'll figure that out for sure after, but I think it's fair to say that I'll be doing something, something fun and something to kind of quench that competitive thirst, if you will. What have you hit in the max dumbbell right now in training? Do you feel you'll be better at it than you were at the Arnold in 2016, where you crushed the event? I think you did 300 for 5. So I actually did, in the 2016 Arnold, I did 300 for 3, but I only did 3 because that was all I needed to win the event. And the best at that point was 2. So I had already, by doing 3, I knew that I had locked that up and I was good. I could have done it for 5, I think maybe even 6. That day it felt so easy to me. Now, the max dumbbell is different than the Sear dumbbell. Size and shape, the handle's different. All of that is gonna, certainly play a factor. And as far as what I've hit right now in training, I've done well. I'm not telling anybody what I have hit in training, but I will say that my preparation is on track for what I want to do in the contest there, and I am planning on putting on a big performance in this event. I'm very excited about it. It's the first time that I've ever been able to do a max dumbbell in competition, because before that, as you're mentioning, I've only had heavy dumbbells for reps or as a ladder. So, I think that the capability is there, and anybody that thinks that that's not the case is, obviously not aware of what I have done or what I'm capable of doing. So, it's just a matter of I've got some work to put in, and making sure that I bring my best to the contest, really. So, it's I'm planning on doing some big things though with that event. I think that's, you can probably read between the lines on that one. Any recommendations on setting goals? I usually say some uh, monetary investment should be made to give someone a tangible loss if they fail to reach that goal. Um, if you're setting goals for yourself, that's probably, um, I mean, if I guess I haven't ever done it that way. That I feel like that's almost more of a bet, right? Like if you bet somebody you're going to do something, or you say you're going to follow through with something and you don't, then that's certainly where some type of monetary loss would be certainly part of it potentially. But I would say with setting goals, number one, you should set goals that mean something to you. And the purpose of setting those goals should be clear to you as to your why. Why are you going after this goal? What is it, what does it mean to you? That type of thing. And then I think with setting those goals, if you write out what you're going to do to make that goal a reality. So, for example, if let's just use the one of kind of working out, maybe losing weight, that type of thing. What are you going to do? What's the goal number one? And then as far as the food, right? Are you potentially not going to buy anything that's going to be tempting to you? Not keep that in the house. That's a big one, because if you don't have easy access, that typically will make that a lot easier. Are you going to drink more water? Are you going to set aside certain time in the day to either prep food or work out or whatever? You can kind of go down the list and see where I'm going with that. But if you set a goal and there's a why, a purpose behind it, you're going to be motivated to achieve it. And then that motivation always needs to turn into discipline, because at some point it's not going to be easy. So even for me, right, going into a contest as big as World's Strongest Man or the Shaw Classic, whatever, I can have my goals and things that I want to achieve, but there inevitably is going they're going to be days. There are going to be days where it's tough, right? I'm sore, I'm beat up, I'm tired. Maybe something happened during the day that was a little bit tougher, and at that point, that's where discipline kicks in, and you've got to step up and put the work in and get it done, even on the tough days, because those tough days and getting through stuff like that are what it ultimately are going to make that goal achievable, right? So it isn't necessarily, and again, if you make a monetary type of thing on a goal, it's at some point, if it's really not something you want to achieve and you throw in the towel, then money's just money, right? Like, it's like, okay, you have $100 on it or something. At some point, if you really don't want to achieve it, that really isn't going to make you do it, because that's not necessarily going to bring the discipline to the table necessarily. So that would be my thing on that. I mean, but if you make a bet with somebody and there's some money on the line, then that can be motivating as well, I guess. So whatever works best for you. Going to start it soon, but just wondering your thoughts on 75 hard. Have you or Carrie ever attempted it? I have not. I have not. Everything that I have heard about it is positive. I think that it's a good program for building discipline. Obviously not like a weight loss type of thing or whatever, but it's something where you have to follow certain steps, and I don't know all of those steps completely, just because I haven't ever read it or researched it that much. But the discipline that comes from it, I think, is a very good thing potentially. So it's something that might be good, and hopefully, if it benefits you, adds to your quality of life, then that can be a really good thing. Have you ever talked to Mitchell Hooper about training with you in your gym? We have a little bit. When he came on board with Evolution Athletics, that was kind of it, and we were talking about doing it last fall. That ended up just not really working. A lot more with his schedule. I feel like after he just kind of needed a break. I feel like after the Rogue Invitational, and so it just didn't work out as far as that goes. And then going into World's Strongest Man, we haven't really been able to set a date either. And with things kind of lining up the way they have, I've got some things planned already with my schedule, and then I need to be protective of, I guess, my time, my training plan, and that type of thing. So, I don't think that it's probably going to work out here leading up to World's Strongest Man, and then that would present maybe more before the Shaw Classic, potentially doing something. I think it'll probably happen at some point, but again, it's just kind of a timing, or has been, at least at this point, a timing issue. You once said, "I will compete until I am not in the hunt to win anymore," and in my eyes, you still are. Even though you may not be what you used to be, you can still win 1 or 2 titles. I agree with you. I'm 100% in the hunt right now, and I don't know when. See, this is the tough part. I mean, to be completely honest with you, is when does that time come? Because I've answered already a couple questions about that Zydrunas, and when is it the right point to kind of walk away? And I think each person has to answer that for themselves ultimately, right? So it's something where I wanted to be competitive until I was ready to hang it up and ready to walk away. So I 100% believe that I am competitive, that I'm ready to win, and that's something that is very much going to become a reality, right? And that's something in my head that I need to walk in there with that, but also through, like I said, through training, through hard work, through preparation. That's where all of that, mindset, the physical ability to back it up, that type of stuff, that's where all of that gets set. So, as far as competing until I'm not in the hunt, it's a tough one, because you want to go to every contest, and you don't know what next year would bring, for me. But I know that going into this one, I'm in the hunt, very much in the hunt, and that's all that really matters, I think, at this point, to me, is ultimately that, and then how great it would be to walk out on top, and add the 5th title, go into the Shaw Classic and win that. These things would mean a lot this year to me, and so that's my focus, I guess, and it's tough. It's very, very tough, and I don't know that I can answer that question, or you can answer that question, or anybody really could, about when I would potentially not be in the hunt anymore. But it's nice to be going into my last one and be very much in the hunt, and be ultra competitive going into it. That's what I always wanted. What pair of kicks would you like next? Man, that's a good question. Good question. Terry got me a really, really cool pair of 11s for my birthday, which I'm excited about. I don't think I posted a picture of those anywhere, but they're really, really cool. They're like the Space Jam 11s, which I've always wanted a pair of those. So it was neat that she decided to get those for me, and so that's adds kind of to the 11s, which are which are my favorite of all of them. I've really been enjoying the ones that I got. Those are amazing. And then threes and fours are probably right there in the mix. I like both of those a lot. So maybe either adding, gosh, so hard. it's I haven't got my sights set on something, but all of those I really do like for sure. When you said you don't think 5 events is enough, what do you think about the Forza Bruta competitions you did in the past? Also, did you dislike how Arnold's 2013 was only 4 events? Yes, I did. I think that was not enough as well, and I don't think the Forza Bruta contests were enough either. But they were very much trying to cater to Brazilian TV there, and that's why they were a limited number of events. So each contest can pick the number of events that they want to do, and ultimately, let's not beat around the bush. It's tough. It's tough to add more events. It's tough. It financially, going into different things, you add more events. Well, guess what? You add more money. You add more time. You add more equipment to move. That type of thing. But the vision for the Shaw Classic, and ultimately what I want that contest to turn into and become, is the best, right? So I don't think that you can argue with 8 events and then 16 competitors. So there's a lot of added expense. I don't think people realize with our contest here. So for example, 6 extra competitors compared to what the Arnold does is a massive budget increase for travel, for food, for hotel, for all of that type of stuff. And then having the extra equipment, not only for the contest but for warming up and this type of stuff. But I feel like it's the right thing to do, and so I'm willing to do the right thing and to make it the best. So yes, all of those things I agree with. I don't think there was enough. I don't think 5 events is enough at the Arnold. I've always said that. That's not anything new. I was saying that when I was there. I mean, they originally started with 6, and 6 would be better. Dropped it to 5, and then 2013 was not acceptable. But again, that was if I remember right, that was a time limitation, I believe, or something like that on the stage. They dropped it to 4 events, but 4 events was definitely not enough. 100% no. Was a 460 deadlift at 2017 Worlds the heaviest standard height deadlift that you've done? I guess you could say, let me think. So a little bit heavier with the elephant bar. So I think that was like 463, something like that, for somewhere in that range. But yeah, I think that's probably in competition. I'm trying to think. I did more potentially in training than that. But yeah, and that's 2017. That was a tough one for me, because I only found out we had a max deadlift going into 2017, in the final. I only found out that was a max deadlift a week out from the contest. So that was a really tough one for me, because I'd been training for reps. Because if you look at World's Strongest Man historically speaking, we had a max in the 2016 World's Strongest Man final, and they had not to that point ever done a max and then a max the following year. So I was just assuming that it would be a deadlift for reps when they said deadlift, and obviously they were not forthcoming with a lot of information going into 2017 World's Strongest Man. So I was not prepped for a big deadlift there. I didn't get to spend any time, and I think I found out I went in and pulled 930 or 40 pounds in training, just because I was only doing reps to at least get a feel of it for 1 week before I left, and then went into that. So certainly not prepared for the max deadlift, and that was kind of I'm going to call it on a whim, because that's really what it was, because I was not training for that. Did you ever talk to Julius Maddox about an over 400-pound basketball challenge? we were joking about that, I think, a little bit, overall, and just never anything got kind of put together. But it'd be fun to have him out to do a podcast and do some training and whatever. Maybe we'll throw some basketball into that potentially. How'd you enjoy the results of the Arnold? Hooper looks so strong and determined. Whole competition was cool to see, both men and women. The women are incredibly strong and passionate. Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. As far as the results, it's I don't really. In all fairness, I don't really want to say too much. I look at results and we'll naturally compare certain events just to kind of get a gauge of where things are. So for example, the deadlift. The guys, I think the Bobby, I think pulled 986 to win that event. But, if you look back at like 2019, I think my opener was 981 going into that contest. So, and they were allowed this year for some reason, which is very strange. They were allowed to wear either a suit with the straps down or briefs, which I feel like now completely changes that event. As well. So stuff like that. I mean, if anything, I look at that and from a competitive standpoint, I get excited because I know what level I'm capable of. And I know then, based on that, like, all right, we're looking at this. I think the log was really strong, seeing a lot of, reps being done there. But I also think that there was some questions from what I've heard about the judging, whether certain reps should have been given. That type of thing, which, again, I wasn't there in person. So I think that that's coming secondhand from people that were there that I do trust, as well. But, you can only look into it, I guess, so much as well. But overall, interesting, very, very interesting. And if anything, it makes me more excited for World's Strongest Man. I will say that based on looking at some of the results there. And it was cool to see the women out there. I feel like they put on some very good performances as well. After, I'm going to say thanks for sharing your knowledge and experience. You are welcome. Me and Brooke are going to our first World's Strongest Man this year. Don't think we could have picked a better year. I think people are underestimating the package you're about to bring. It'll be cool. It'll be cool, hopefully, to see you guys there. And all I'm going to say is the work is being put in and the preparation is on track right now. So it's going to be fun. I need you to grit your teeth and get this win, finish it. I appreciate that. And don't worry. Do not worry, because that is definitely being done. Thanks for doing these lives, Brian. You are welcome. Mr. Shaw, thanks for doing these chats with us. Go get back to work. Got to get back to work. Have a great weekend and go get number 5. Appreciate that. Hope you have a great weekend as well. I love everything Atlas Stone video, tacky technique, accessory work, etc. Have a great day. We'll try to get that done. I would love to help you out, help the members out with that as well. How's your max deadlift feeling during this lead up with the prior hamstring issues? Well, deadlift in general is feeling very good. Very, very good. And I don't have to worry about max because both of the deadlifts are for reps. So, it's something where that's the main focus is obviously the reps and prepping for the deadlifts that we have at World's Strongest Man to be ready for that. Why don't we see more of a max stone event? Also, do you think an 800-pound stone is possible for you and me 10 years from now? Man, that's... I think 700 needs to be cleared first before you talk about 800. Kind of like, deadlift. I think that's the first milestone, and I do think that 700 is possible. And then from there, I don't know. It's that's. I think the first, like I said, the first hurdle is 700, and then in 10 years, maybe. I don't know. I would say it's maybe. I don't think it's. I'm never a guy that says impossible or likes to say impossible. So maybe. I wish I could make it a World's Strongest Man, but wishing you the best of luck each week. Keep on being great. Appreciate that. Definitely, speaking of the strong woman, does Victoria Long get an auto invite to this year's Open due to winning last year? We have not done it that way. We've said, hey, we're doing an open online qualifier, so basically the same type of thing. It's, to be fair, not something we really thought about, but potentially that may be something for us to consider. I think that she's more than proved that she is capable. So. Yeah, it's something we'll have a talk about that. It's not that's the first that I've really thought about that. Just so much stuff going on behind the scenes with the contest, and trying to prep everything. So just it's impossible, I think, to think about every single thing. So maybe that's something that I can bring up a little bit more. Max Stone event at Shaw Classic. Get that 700-pound stone. So a lot of times, and I have thought about this. I have thought about this before, but the problem is, and especially with me competing, I don't want to ever put in an event that anybody were to ever think, the competitors, the fans, whoever, think that I put the event in to benefit me or to make it better for me in some way, shape, or form. And so, that's one thing that I've kind of shied away from, with that, even though I was excited about it. I would like to see that. It's just one of those things I don't want people to ever say, well, of course Brian put Max Stone in the event because he wanted to do well at it or whatever. So, yeah, that's just being honest. I think that it's a great test of strength. I really do. But with me competing, maybe when I'm done. But who knows? Who knows? We'll see. Did you release your own tacky? No, we still sell Elite tacky, and that's what I've always used, and will use for World's Strongest Man for the Shaw Classic, because it's, in my opinion, the best. I think that you'll have another strong woman or strong man on the podcast, enjoying each of those releases with your busy schedule. We do have a podcast coming up. The next one will be with Graham Hicks. And I've got to get done with this and see if we can maybe even get that live today. So, screw their whiny opinions. Oh, man. Yeah. So many athletes good at stones. There should be no problem with it, I think. Yeah. In all fairness, there are a lot of great athletes with stones. And I think that the results of that would be pretty interesting. So, all right, guys, I have a list of stuff to get done still. Gosh, the time flies. I guess time flies when you're having fun doing this. But finish out the week strong. What's left of it here on Friday, and then have a great weekend. Really, keep crushing things, and good luck to everybody, like I said, that's finishing up the challenge. Excited to, get the final submissions done for that and see how everybody did. So, appreciate all of you. Hope you're all doing amazing. For now, go on and be great, and we'll check you guys later.